The first thing people noticed about her was not her hands, though they were rough with work, nor her eyes, which held a steady calm. It was the silence she carried with her, a kind that made men uncomfortable and women curious. In towns like Red Willow, silence was often mistaken for weakness. Her name was Eliza Moore, and by the time the sun had climbed halfway over the dusty roofs of Red Willow, she had already been turned away from 3 ranches. At the first place, the owner barely looked up from his ledger. "Don't need help," he muttered, though a tired ranch hand stood behind him with a bandaged arm. At the second, the foreman laughed, not cruelly, just dismissively. "This ain't women's work," he said, tipping his hat as if that made it polite. The third door didn't even open. A boy shouted from inside that they'd already hired someone, and Eliza knew from the dust on the porch that no one had been there all morning. She walked back into the street with her shoulders straight, boots steady against the packed earth. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford, but neither was begging. Red Willow was drying up. Everyone knew it. The drought had bitten deep this year. Crops failed. Cattle grew thin. Ranchers wanted strong hands, quick workers, and fewer mouths to feed. A woman alone, with no family name to speak for her, was an easy risk to refuse. Eliza paused near the well at the center of town, lowering herself onto its stone edge. She reached into her satchel and counted her coins for the 3rd time that morning. Still the same number, still not enough for another week. She had come west with hope stitched into every mile of dust behind her. Her father had taught her to ride before she could properly read. Her brothers had taught her to mend fences, break horses, and keep quiet when men underestimated her. When they died, first to illness, then to an accident that left no one to blame, Eliza learned a harsher lesson. Skill meant nothing if no one gave you a chance to use it. Across the street, the Hawthorne Ranch sign creaked softly in the wind. People said the rancher who owned it, Caleb Hawthorne, was different, quiet, observant. Some claimed he was cold. Others said he simply listened more than he spoke. He'd lost his wife years ago and hadn't hired much help since. Eliza hadn't planned to try Hawthorne Ranch. Men like him didn't hire strangers, and they certainly didn't hire women. Still, her feet carried her forward. The ranch house sat just beyond the edge of town, weathered but strong, like it had learned how to endure. Caleb Hawthorne stood by the corral when Eliza arrived, repairing a broken post. He looked up as her shadow crossed the dirt. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He simply watched. "I'm looking for work," Eliza said, her voice even. "I can ride, mend, cook if needed. I don't cause trouble." Caleb wiped his hands on a cloth and studied her the way a man studies the sky before deciding whether to trust the weather. "I've already turned people away today," he said. "I know," Eliza replied. "So have they." For a moment nothing moved but the horses shifting in the corral. Then Caleb surprised her. Instead of refusing, instead of giving excuses, he asked a single question, one no one else had bothered to ask all day. "Why does everyone else say no?" Eliza blinked. "Not can you lift a saddle? Not where's your husband? Not do you know your place? Just why?"
She met his eyes and answered honestly.
"Because they don't see me," she said. "They see what they expect." Caleb Hawthorne didn't respond right away, but something shifted in his expression, subtle as the first crack of thunder before rain. And for the first time that day, Eliza felt the door hadn't fully closed. Caleb Hawthorne did not answer right away. He turned back to the fence post, pressing it deeper into the soil, as if weighing Eliza's words against the stubborn ground. Silence stretched between them, not the uncomfortable kind she was used to, but one that felt deliberate, thoughtful. Finally he spoke. "Can you ride at dawn?" Eliza's heart thudded once, hard. "Yes." "Can you work until dark?" "Yes." He nodded slowly. "Then start tomorrow." Just like that. No warning, no conditions, no promises either. Eliza stood there, stunned, as if the world had tilted without asking permission. "That's it?" she asked. Caleb met her gaze. "That's it." The next morning came cold and pale. Eliza arrived before the sun, boots crunching over frost-bitten earth. The ranch was already awake. Horses snorted softly. The wind brushed the grass. and somewhere a gate creaked open. She worked harder that day than she had in weeks. She repaired fencing without complaint. She calmed a restless mare no one else dared approach. She lifted feed sacks until her shoulders burned and her hands trembled. Not once did she stop to explain herself. Caleb watched from a distance. He did not interfere. He did not praise. But he noticed. By dusk, the other hands, few as they were, had stopped whispering. By nightfall, they nodded at her with something close to respect. When the day finally ended, Eliza sat on the steps of the ranch house, exhaustion settling deep into her bones. Caleb stepped out beside her and handed her a tin cup of water. "You didn't lie," he said. "I never do," she replied. He studied her for a long moment, then asked another question, quiet, careful. "What are you running from?" Eliza swallowed. "I'm not," she said. "I'm walking toward something. I just didn't know where it was yet." Caleb nodded, as if that answer confirmed something he already suspected. Weeks passed. The drought did not end overnight, but the ranch changed. The fences held. The horses grew calmer. The land felt less abandoned. And slowly word spread through Red Willow. Hawthorne Ranch hired a woman, and she's the hardest worker there. Ranchers who once turned Eliza away began to watch from a distance. Some wondered, some regretted. Caleb never said, "I told you so." One evening, as rain finally darkened the horizon, he stood beside Eliza in the field. "All I asked was one question," he said. She smiled softly. "That's more than anyone else did." Thunder rolled. The first drops of rain touched the earth, and in that moment, Eliza understood something she would carry for the rest of her life. Sometimes, all it takes to change a destiny is someone willing to ask, and someone brave enough to answer.